Hey everybody, it is Eric and it is Jay, and we are back from Connecticut and the Grand Prix du Lake Chargagog Man Chagagog Chowbunagungumog at Thompson.
Before we get started, I gotta say, Zach Caldwell from Van and Ball unexpectedly died just right before this race. Nobody saw this coming. Zach became a huge part of Lemons and the community in general. He exposed dozens of people to Lemons racing for the first time with his Dodge Caravan. His family has put together a deal with Lemons of Love in his honor. You can see that separately online. We're going to miss you, Zach.
Let's talk about the race. Now, if you want to get our attention, you should race a Mercury in Lemons. They're kind of perfect in the sense that they are totally forgettable. Nobody remembers like what a Mercury LN7 looks like. But Jay, do you remember what the Mercury Milan looks like?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Team Pepperidge Farm brought us this fittingly themed Milano Milan for Lemons. Kind of just ran all weekend until the brakes maybe, caught on fire a little bit. Still, they beat 30 teams. Now, I meant to give them a trophy at the trophy ceremony and totally read right past it on the sheet, so I'm really sorry about that. You guys can take an IOU on that. I can't believe that I forgot about that.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
First of all, I remember Milano cookies as being delicious. They're not. Second of all, Milano, Monte Carlo, I got a theory. I think if you're a car company and you want a pre-existing brand and it's got all this reputation, but you don't want to pay a penny for it, you take the name of a place. You get all the benefit of it, none of the money, and then because it's on a car, you can patent it. It's genius!
Also, the people who buy them never going to those places.
100% true. Perfect example, 8 More Hicks, Chevy Malibu. Malibu. They're never going to Malibu, these people.
Lemons has raced in New England since like 2008 at nearby Stafford Motor Speedway, and we had a couple of those original cars show up for this race. The first one was Ghetto Art Rabbit in their Volkswagen Jetta. They're a super uncompetitive father-son team who have been racing the same car for about 13 or 14 years. They've literally changed nothing about it. We like these guys.
The other one is a Saab 900, and their team name is Saab. Saab is not I was going to say Saab's not a theme. Saab's actually kind of a theme. Amazingly, these guys, top 10 finish in this race. They would have won Class B in this non-turbo, ancient, hammered 900, except they broke a throttle cable right up to the end. Kind of amazing.
Let's talk about something awesome like good themes, and there were a lot of them. We will begin with Mouse Piss Racing and their Subaru Impreza. This was their second race. They kind of didn't have a theme necessarily at the first one. They came back with it as Cryobi, and they had a full complement of Ryobi tools to lend out to us or to anybody who needed them. All you had to do was call their helpline.
Press 3 to reach someone from our sales department. To be honest, we will probably ignore you.
The Dead Horse Beaters came back with their Mustang. They had a Church of the Latter-day J series theme. They were trying to do conversions from their J35 Honda Odyssey mid-mounted motor, make it into a real American car. They had the bike helmets, they had the shirts. I'm sure nobody would be offended by that.
The Feral Shelbys had 2 cars. They had the Hocus Pocus Focus with a reciprocating rabbit in the hat. Following my personal advice of put more stuff on the roof, that was well done. And of course they had their V8 Miata with a Rev War patriotic declaration of American V8 superiority theme.
3-Pedal Mafia had a great Olympics theme, very timely. And even better, their Mazda 3 after a dozen attempts won Class B.
Slippery Slope had their ski outfits on a 90-degree day. Love that kind of dedication.
Team Mean and the Mechanics, great Scarecrow theme, great banging sound system.
The old homosexual Chevy Malibu has reappeared in the New England in the last couple of races. That's awesome to see. Still has the Homer Simpson painted small block Chevy V8, which the team tried to tell us was stock. It is most definitely not. We do like their fuel pump setup though.
The Baja Banditos fixed their weird Subaru Ute thing with 2,500-pound internet coilovers. This thing was so stiff. Every time they went over a pebble, their teeth were chattering and their kidneys were failing. Sorry guys, even the disgusting ancient Baja Blast taped to your roll cage, not going to help with that.
Flatball Racing's Turbo Lancia Scorpion is always worth a mention, but Team Captain Lucas also brought his Fiat Panda 4x4. That thing's amazing.
And that stuff's all super cool. Less cool, the mechanical carnage at this race was unbelievable. I don't know what the hell's wrong with New England people, but just for starters, and speaking of New England, we had our first ever lifted XC70 cross country. Awesome vehicle. We were super excited. Like an hour into the test day, smoke started pouring out of this car, and then smoke stopped, which is even worse. Never made it back out on track. Hopefully we're going to see this car at another race.
Another car that didn't get out of test day running was 88 Shades of Grey in their BMW. Kind of one of the low-key good teams. You can kind of see where the segment's going based on those two cars alone, I think.
The Lemontarians, of course, you want carnage. I mean, you can start with them. So first they put a Pro Charger on their car. At the last race, they stripped every gear out of their gearbox. Couldn't quite muster a complete rebuild of that thing. So on Friday, they showed up with a full gearbox of neutrals. Had to rebuild that overnight. Showed up again for the race. Car essentially was doing burnouts every time it tried to leave the line. I'm sure that wasn't intentional. I think they finished, but they really scared the hell out of us.
Rotini Racing showed up with what was once the Deliverator from Snow Crash. Under the hood,
2JZ and no shit.
Obviously a 2JZ crushed the race.
Far From NASCAR was trying to set their timing before the race. They had a breaker bar on the crank pulley and then actually forgot it was on it, tried to start the engine. Breaker bar, rotated around, pulled the pulley off, blew the timing out of the engine. We don't even know what else they broke. They tried to fix it all weekend long, could never get the car to start again.
Hopes and Dreams Racing have what we think might be the most raced Subaru in Lemon's history, which means they have killed all of the Subaru engines, including yet another one this weekend.
Go racing Lemons. It'll be fun. You'll do some racing and get to meet some new people.
Hooptie Racing, now they ditched their Cavalier wagon after their first race way back when, and they got this Sentra because they just thought that would be a better race car. Now, in the last three races, including this race, they have racked up a grand total of 88 laps altogether. It really raises the question, well, what's a better endurance race car? 94 Cavalier wagon? 05 Sentra.
Nothing But a Z Thing brought their Street 280Z along with their race car 280Z, and I think if you've been around Lemons, you know exactly what happened. They took parts off of their street car to make their Lemons car run. Actually worked, which almost never happens. Finished 16th place. Pretty nicely done.
Yeah, even some very accomplished, notable teams who clearly have their act together, they blew up at this race. Maybach Racing, their Honda Civic, which has won a race overall, blew up the clutch. They have no idea why. They couldn't fix it. Sorry, dudes.
And the ever-lovely Burt 1 Volvo Bertoni finally killed their turbo Volvo engine after so many races they can't actually remember when they put it in. Hopefully they have another one laying around because the next one is their 50th race, as it turns out.
All right, here are your class winners.
Let's spare a moment here for the Boston Whiners. We don't usually care about a BMW that wins overall, and they hastily re-themed with kind of an Olympics thing overnight at the judge's behest. However, they have agreed to doing a Great Moments in Olympics History theme going forward and committing to it, so we thought we'd give them some suggestions like Carrie Strugg's vault on a sprained ankle at the 1996 Olympics, the Miracle on Ice, Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan, you know that story, the dude on the wide world of sports who wipes out on the ski jump, and my personal favorite, the 1904 Olympics marathon on open public roads in St. Louis with a dude getting chased by a wild dog, a guy who got a ride to the finish in a car, and the winner who was hallucinating as he crossed the finish line because his trainers fed him egg whites, brandy, and strychnine. I think you know where to start with this one.
In Class B, I'll just, again, three-pedal mafia. Good job, guys.
And Class C went to Moot Point Racing in their Volvo 240. This was their 27th race. They finally won after re-theming as a Volvo semi-truck. Re-theming and winning a class has been a recurring thing this year. Heard a lot of that. Keep doing that. They also gave us a penalty as a bribe, which was to order the viscosities of oil Don't get any ideas. They're going to retheme or rework the order here so that you can't just copy their work.
All right, so let's move on to the trophies proper. We're going to start with Heroic Fix. This was Purple Rain, R-E-I-G-N, because, great. So these poor bastards, they showed up. They couldn't pass tech because their fire suppression was wrong and their kill switch didn't work and a bunch of stuff. They very cheerfully, worked through all of those things. Then on Saturday, they couldn't race because their car was wrong. The struts were blown and it wouldn't start, and just typical Lemon stuff. So they had to work through that all the time. However, they did not let those problems stop them from also working their brilliant Prince theme, because to them, that was the most important part of the entire weekend. So it was a Prince Wins Oil purple mashup kind of deal. They executed all of those things and ultimately got on track and raced. Brilliant showing.
I Got Screwed went to another team that did not escape test day unscathed. This was Acura and their Acura Integra. Story's a little longish. The short version is that the new guy on test day misshifted and somehow, I don't know how, ejected the starter motor entirely off the engine. I don't know how that happens. I've never seen that happen. They went and got a new starter, threw it on, didn't fix anything. They went through the checklist all the way from spark plugs to taking the entire engine out and putting a new one in. That did not fix it. None of it fixed it. Turns out when the starter motor explodes off your engine, it fries the ECU. They could not find another OBD1 ECU to go in the car. 0 laps. They got screwed. However, they did bribe judges Manny and Chris with some laser cut signs for their race team, and they offered us some other bribes.
The special trophy this time was Groom's Gift to Lemons, and this went to Team Too Broke to Care because Team Captain Adam had his bachelor party at this race. Like 37 people came just for the bachelor party, and they're wandering around like, what the hell is going on here? As if that wasn't grief enough for the guy, he had to barbecue an entire pig for his friends and shared that around the paddock, and he brought 2 race cars, their usual Mustang. And it turns out they had this E30 shell behind the field, and they said, all it needs is an engine. So what do you do with an E30 that needs an engine? You put an old janky Mercedes turbo diesel in, because you want an engine that weighs 1,100 pounds and makes 60 horsepower, right? Well, they got it all together, and then just to cap it off, their golf cart, jankiest golf cart in the world, by the way, burst into flame mid-race. Fortunately, people were around to put that out, so I hope that the marriage goes better than the bachelor party.
Judge's choice went to Nismorons and their Infiniti M30 Coupe, a car that we have somehow not seen in Lemons to date. Not only that, they did a sweet theme of They Live, the 1980s film starring Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Thank you, sir.
The body of this car was in great shape, like Concours quality M30 Coupe, but the engine and suspension were questionable, let's say. They figured out that the engine might last like 15 laps tops, so they were taking bets from the judges on how long it would last. All the judges bet 150 or under. This thing wallowed around on blown shocks for 387 laps, ran all weekend. That was hella sweet.
The organizer's choice, and I was delighted to see this, went to Team Hesh and their Ford Escort. We've talked about this before. The guys who really don't need to theme because they're awesome in lots of other ways, they come through with a great theme. And the guys who really should theme up, you gotta twist their arms. Not naming any names, Boston whiners. Anyway, Team Hesh took their fun Escort and they built a really great ice cream truck on it. These are super nice guys with a super slow car, and they put all their effort into making us laugh, which we appreciated. I mean, they had the uniforms, they had like 300 ice cream sandwiches that they gave out to people, they had the music. They were super into it. They also rolled the car, which was really sad and depressing. Nobody was hurt. I went and looked at this car after it rolled, as I do, because we want to see how they perform. Basically, the cage wasn't even touched. It was such a low-speed accident, it just kind of bent the top corner of the roof. But, I mean, the driver's out for a year, that's the rule. And he took it so well after all of the work that he did. And just to drive home what kind of guys these really are, after all that disappointment, Chris and his guys took the ice cream part off of the race car, put it onto their pit vehicle so that they could continue giving out ice creams to everyone in the paddock. Way to go.
Halloween Meets Gasoline, the prize for the best theme, went to the Hooptie Owners Association, which was like a super team between Barf Motorsports, Pimp My Ride, Hack Factory Racing, Church of Focus, and the Slow and Mellow. And it was, to be honest, a complete clinic on how to do Halloween Meets Gasoline. So what is the Hooptie Owners Association? Well, it's like a homeowners association, except it exists to make sure all of the cars are sufficiently crappy with the requisite number of dents, in-season themes, and parking on the grass. They had gift baskets to give out for rookie teams who were new to the neighborhood. They also drafted up their own set of bylaws, and they were in their best HOA public enforcement outfits, giving every single team somewhere between 1 and 10 notices for not meeting HOA standards. In the case of the Hack Factory guys, they rented one of those portable speed cameras off of Facebook Marketplace, which, I mean, I guess you can get anything on Facebook Marketplace, and even brought a spare Eric to enforce the rule. Now, like all of the best HMG winners, this was not just a Friday theme. This went on throughout the weekend, with notices being put on cars Sunday on the grid and even after the checkered flag. The Pimp My Ride guys even dedicated themselves to the hooptiness so much that their Celica blew the hell up and caught on fire.
What the f did y'all do to this car?
Those are freeze plugs that were in the oil pan. Have absolutely no idea how that happened. Never seen it. That's amazing. The Church of Focus guys blew up their power steering and then bent the whole rear suspension. These guys are really dedicated to hooptiness. Even better, one of their drivers brought his own car last minute and did a fantastic anti-HOA theme with defund the HOA flags, the kids shouting at the HOA, and the motto, clean cars, clean racing, which of course always happens at East Coast races.
The IOE went to Mr. H and their incredibly crusty Volvo 760. Now, when you see one of these cars, you open the hood, and what are you looking for? A red block, right? I mean, that's what works. No. These guys, they had the original PRV V6, the worst engine possibly ever made. I mean, even DeLorean went to bankruptcy on the PRV engine, right? So these guys, they're old oval trackers. I mean, they didn't know. They don't know foreign cars. They're like, that's the engine. Let's make it work. First time they tried to race this car, it immediately exploded. And instead of fixing the root problem, they went to a junkyard, mysteriously found another one. That motor has run 25 races, incredibly slow. These guys, they don't race anybody but themselves. They go around and around, and this car now refuses to blow up. Once again, they posted a top third finish with the 86th fastest lap of the race. They are awesome. And frankly, that is Lemons in a nutshell, but so sad.
You need to call the exterminator.
Every second you don't subscribe or watch one of these videos, another Vega is sent to the crusher. Won't you help us save Classic?